And I will call this meeting to order at 7:05. First item on our agenda is welcome comments and announcements. I'd like to turn it over to Kim Slack, one of our two very good heat pump coaches who would like to tell us about green home tours.
Great. I am from CMLP. I am a very part-time heat pump coach. I know I've talked with some of you. We are doing the third annual homes tour. Brad has organized the other two years. This year, CMLP took it over and is doing the organization. So I'm here to ask if the Concord Climate Action Committee again would co-sponsor this event. And we anticipate you might, so we put this on our flyer. Let me pass these around. And I'll briefly describe it, but the bottom line is I'm really here to see if we can get some volunteers to help us. So on the 31st, in the dead of winter, we are going to open 3 homes, and Wendy Ravelli has agreed to open hers as one. And then we have 2 at Brad is another one. And then we have Jeff.
So Jeff in West Concord?
Yes.
Who did it the first year?
Yes.
Jeff Iden's name. Jeff Iden.
No, not Jeff Iden. This is
Okay.
anyway, it'll come to me. Anyway, so 3 homes. 2 are ducted, 1 is ductless, which is Wendy's. And the idea is there's a lot of people who are skeptical that these things can actually keep you warm during the winter. So why not do it in late January? And that's the plan. We're also going to feature, Brad has solar panels, so we're going to have our solar expert, Pamela Katie, talk about the solar policies that Concord is using to promote that. We'll have heat pump coaches at all 3 homes talking about value of heat pumps. And also we're gonna have induction stoves, and if you don't, Brad has an induction stove. The other 2 we're gonna have induction hot plates that we get from the library. I didn't know you could do this. Yeah.
Check them out, yeah.
Yeah, you can check them out. So we're going to demonstrate how induction works, and we're going to have hot mold cider so that we can make it nice and warm and cozy. And all 3 houses will have an electric vehicle, so they can see this is how 21st century technology works in older homes. Any questions?
Well, other than sponsorship, what would you like from us? You're asking for volunteers. Are there specific things that we can be doing?
Yes, so we need a greeter. So we are gonna have people register before they even know what addresses these homes are. They will have to get registered, put in their email and phone number, a name. And then we check them off a list when they come in the house. We think that's better than having the host do it, because the host is trying to get every set the scene thing. So a greeter to check off the names, also to stand by the door in case there are nefarious characters who are trying to carry things out of their house, but we've never had that happen. Then we need anyone who knows induction stoves, so we need someone who can speak a little bit about how induction works. So we have 2 homes that we would need that. And then finally is posting flyers at a couple of places around town. And then I could use some help. We have these sandwich boards that we're going to post all around town. One in the Triangle here, and then a whole bunch of other places that have been found to be pretty good. On Main Street, there's the one in front of the I
I
think.
don't know how much how much those bring in, but maybe some.
You know, my boss, Janicetti, is going all out. I mean, she's like, we're gonna put a banner on the main street.
Oh, like over the street?
Yeah, over the street.
Wow.
I mean, no, she's, this time we are not pulling it.
Is it the kind that can be reused, like the date? Cause those are. so
Yes,
It's
yeah.
not
yeah.
one and done, right?
Yeah.
Climate, recycle, reuse,
Exactly,
protect.
the umbrella has one they put out and it
Okay.
has no date on it, so they can reuse it, and that's our plan, is that. We hope we can do this every last Saturday in January, so that would be the piece on there.
Hmm.
So that's it. If you would like more information, let me give you my email. It's kslack@concordma.gov. And hope I hear from you. I hope we get some folks to volunteer, and it's a good way for you to get out and meet other people in the community. How you can tell them about what the committee's doing.
So how many volunteers do we have? One, two,
Yeah, I've done it
three.
before.
Great.
Yeah,
I have an induction
me,
stove.
Scott, Catherine. Oh,
That's right.
Committee, because she volunteered.
Oh, wow.
This is a good place to.
Recruit people.
Right.
We'll have to find somebody bigger to be your bouncer though.
I don't think we'll need any bouncing.
Should we have a formal vote on sponsoring this?
We want to sponsor it, yeah.
Yeah.
I propose we sponsor it and do everything we can to get people to come.
Does Chair Hurst second?
Second,
Any discussion? Go ahead.
what about solar hot water? Is that totally dead in this climate?
Yeah, and
No one's come up with
No
it.
incentive for it, so it doesn't, it, compared to heat pump water heaters, it's not like.
So no one's been able to innovate and make them better.
no, and partly it's because the electrons you get out of a solar
Are more
PV
efficient than,
are very efficient, and they go, and you can use those not just to heat water, you can use them for all these other things, right? So that's what people are opting to do,
I say,
and you get incentives. Well, 30% tax credit going away, but Concord will still offer incentives for the solar.
yeah, because I know the reason why I ask is the deck houses in my little neighborhood were all piped for solar hot water.
Yeah, I remember that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And two of them had them until recently. I think one still does have their solar hot water.
Yeah, it made them very efficient as part of that, yeah. One last thing I forgot to mention, anyone who's good at social media, I am not, I've disavowed Facebook and things, but anyone who wants to help out, we could use some social media.
We can do that, we're gonna talk a little bit about social media later.
All right.
Right.
Hey, thank you very much for having
Yeah,
me.
thank you.
Yeah.
you.
It's great event.
And we'll be in touch to talk specifics about volunteering.
Excellent.
Great.
Is there a time, sorry, it's 1 to 3:30, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 to 3:30.
Any other discussion on sponsoring? Or co-sponsoring this? Hearing none, we would be in line for a vote. All those in favor of co-sponsoring the Green Home Tours,
Aye.
please signify by raising your hand. All those opposed, signify by raising your hand. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. All right, let's move on to meetings and minutes.
I wanted to mention also, the Sustainable Middlesex meeting I went to the other day, which was quite good. And down in Lexington, Sustainable Middlesex is a kind of a group that just gets people, sustainability advocates for the most part, together to talk about programs done in different towns. Mike Barrett spoke and he gave a very interesting short presentation about how affordability is being used as a distraction from climate. And it was interesting, he had some really good numbers, like in, the thing that people point to is our electricity rates, our energy costs are among the top in the nation. That is the cost per unit of energy. But what he showed was something that he got from the Globe. There was a Globe article about And the actual energy bills per capita in Massachusetts are among the bottom, close to the bottom of the nation, especially energy bills per GDP. So it's affordability is important, but it's not like energy bills are as large a thing for Massachusetts as they are in other states. The other thing that was interesting was they talked about there was someone from the Massachusetts Community Climate Bank talking about the Energy Saver Home Loan Program, which is for income qualified people. It gives loans at either 0.5% interest or 2% interest, depending on where your income falls. But I'm thinking you asked about affordable housing, what we could do, what could be done about affordable housing. We could make sure all that we could think about as a climate action for our plan. Getting the affordable housing community on top of this and seeing how many solar arrays plus heat pumps might be good, because you have to save 20% of energy to be qualified for the loan, and that's evaluated by a BODE. But if you are, it's a no-brainer. You would save money right away. So that's just something that I thought was quite interesting.
That's good to think about. We'll have to look more into that. And I think we may have partners willing to join in on that from a couple of our other committees in town.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's dig in on that in the coming year. We have minutes to approve from our last meeting, November 19. Did everybody get a chance to look at that and reply with anything that they saw?
Well, Brad replied with a number of comments. Some of them are just misspelling typos. In fact, most all of them are typos. And I made those suggestions, made those corrections. In fact, the spell checker had caught most of them, but. And
Did anybody have anything else that they need to bring forward on them? And if not, would we hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a second?
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those, since we don't have anybody online, we can do these votes even more quickly just by saying aye. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved unanimously. I wanted to turn to the event sheet. Thank you, Shannon, for getting that a cleaner, more readable format than I sent it to you in. Did anybody have anything to add to these upcoming events for the next month? The other question I had was after reflecting on this for a month, if you receive a sheet like this with the meeting packet, is that going to be good for you, or do we want to talk over these things in any kind of depth?
I like your sending early, and if there are some which we want to especially promote or take part in, it's worth talking about. But
Nothing to add?
In terms of the just event, the dates coming up, yeah. Thinner this time, right? Just do the holidays.
It was, I didn't find as many things going on. It's not to say that there aren't as many things going on, but I didn't find.
a couple of them have been added to the new website.
Oh, you beat me to it?
And beat you.
Good on you.
I didn't do all of them, so you can do the rest.
Okay, anything that isn't already there that I feel should go on, I'll put it on tomorrow or the next day. Then we are in line to move on to agenda item number 3, chair updates. And I apologize, I usually ask this before we call the meeting to order. Does anybody in the room need a paper copy of the agenda? You're good, okay. Great, I wanted to follow up first on the conversation we had about state legislation. This is the disagreeable House redraft of the governor's energy affordability bill. I talked with one of the government relations team at MAPC, who had been kind of finger on the pulse with this legislation all summer and fall. There is not currently a coordinated set of municipal feedback going into House Ways and Means on that legislation. However, MAPC are working on something. They don't know whether they would solicit every last town in their catchment area or whether they would do something through the Metro Mayors Coalition. But they're working on a sign-on letter that folks should expect to see in the near future. I don't know who in Concord gets that kind of solicitation. They said generally that would go to the town administrator. So it could be that we have to nudge Carrie to look for something from them, or it could be that you're the contact. I don't know who they normally send to. But there might be a sign-on letter in the near future.
Okay,
And that would be really probably the only coordinated municipal feedback. The government relations person I talked to was very solicitous of the idea of us or the select board or the town administrator or deputy town manager sending a letter. He thought that that would be a helpful thing to do. And he does think that the House is going to act on that legislation at some point. MAPC's expectation is that we would see House action on this before the Senate acts. And that the redraft that Ways and Means would do would be something in between the two versions, in between what the governor did and what the Telecom Utilities and Energy Committee did. So that would probably be a bill that we would still see some good in, but see as mostly a negative thing. So I think that we still have some time on this. I wouldn't expect something to happen next week. I wouldn't expect something to happen later this month. It could be the next thing that we do is just wait to see what MAPC puts out publicly. So unless there were any further thoughts from any of you all on specific to that bill, I think the best thing to do that I would suggest would just be to wait. The other development is that on Monday, there were many bills of a couple dozen bills that moved on the Senate side to Senate Ways and Means. Many of them would be bills of interest to us. I haven't had time to process what those all are. Well, we should I can take a close look at what went through to Senate Ways and Means. That'll kind of give us a clue about specifically what Chairman Barrett might want to be doing over the coming months, but also it might inform what is the direction of policy on the Senate side, and is there something that Concord would take a particular interest in? One of the things, for instance, which moved forward was an expansion of the 10-town fossil fuel-free pilot. So that might not directly affect us, but it's a signal that Senate, at least on the Senate side, they like what they're seeing so far among the adopting towns. They're looking to expand it prospectively. So I'll take a look at those things and see if there's something to brief you on for next month. Go ahead.
I did look at them and matched them up against the priority bills for Elders Climate Action Massachusetts.
Mhm.
And many of Elders Climate Action's priority bills were passed through to Senate Ways and Means. And they had mostly all looked like pretty good bills. Senator Barrett has a sort of an old bill about requiring houses be rated, energy rated. Which used to be a great idea, but now they ought to be probably greenhouse gas rated. And greenhouse gas and energy ratings are like different systems, and I tried to think about a few weeks ago whether there was a way to make some friendly amendments to Senator Barrett's thing on energy that would kind of like add a line item for greenhouse gas emissions to what he was talking about, but it's just a little awkward. So the fact that he sort of has stuck with it and pushed it on to Ways and Means kind of raises a question we might want to try to be helpful. Otherwise, it seems like it's going to be unhelpful.
The energy.
Yeah, I mean, if you electrify your home, I'm sure it's going to look worse the way he's got an energy, sort of energy efficiency oriented, home energy rating kind of thing.
I think it's always in line for any of us as just an individual interested person in town to make a friendly suggestion. And if we wanted to provide any kind of more formal feedback, probably the savvy way to do it would be to throw together a quick letter, mostly saying thank you. And by the way, this might be a really cool improvement. I think that generally that kind of correspondence
So-
isn't seen as an attack or seen negatively.
The purpose of energy rating, it's energy rating of homes, right? Is so that people can figure out what energy bills are gonna be.
Right.
So and that, even though it's not exactly, we want.
That's okay, it's not objectionable.
That's what is actionable to people buying homes. I don't think that many people, so.
I don't think we should get into the detail right now on it, but, and I don't have a specific proposal to make, so it's just if anybody really wanted to follow up on it, it would be interesting.
Okay.
Excellent. Let's move on to talk about the draft annual report. Folks get a chance to look at that.
Oh, pretty good.
You like that? I know why you like it. I copied verbatim a lot of the things that you said in previous years and then just tried to drop a word count a little bit. So it probably looks very familiar to you.
Yeah. It's not, so looking back on annual reports from CSAC from years ago, we used to have reports that said, we ran these programs, they saved X amount of money, they saved so much greenhouse gases, there were numbers and stuff. It's actually pretty hard to do that. But it would be nice whenever we do something that we can quantify, which wasn't this last year, but maybe we'll get there within a year or two to quantify the savings or something.
Do you think that in our next year annual report, we have any kind of duty to the public to report on or to measure or score how we did on the climate action plan?
Yeah, I mean, score it, I mean,
Grade it?
we get it done.
Anything?
Oh, we're gonna get an A plus plus.
Well, I would say that I do think on an annual basis, somebody in town should be doing that. I looked back at the plan we're doing a 5-year update on, and it does say that every year we're gonna do all these metrics. It's kind of elaborate, But I think either staff and or committees should say, are we on track?
Yeah.
Or in a more systematic.
Yeah, same,
methodical kind of way.
pick a couple of key
Yeah, so-
metrics and just do them every year the same way. We're on track, we're not on track. I mean, that just provides a basis for us to
Yeah.
take action.
So if we do another greenhouse gas inventory, we'll have an idea whether, what progress we made in the last 3 years. That would be nice to report on next year. Workable.
Okay.
That's kind of a metric.
Yeah. But I wonder, I don't know if these are the type of metrics, but I mean, CMLP can kind of tell us how many, heat pumps are installed, or, I mean, there's certain things that we probably could track without a huge heavy lift. That we could just sort of bullet point and
Yeah.
just have it.
They have numbers on heat pumps, EVs. I think solar,
Mhm.
and it's easy to get natural gas with a year lag from Mass Save.
Mhm.
And I'm sure the CMLP has electric, I don't know exactly where to pull that, but I'm sure they got electricity issue. So there's a bunch of variables we could easily pull together.
Yes, that's something that on the electrification side, I think we should absolutely do that. I would love to push this committee to start thinking about how do we have metrics around things like biodiversity and some of the more natural than adaptation resilience. That's a lot harder, right? And that
Yeah,
hopefully will
yeah.
help the plan.
The Concord Land Trust. When they set aside acreage, maybe we could somehow quantify that, which they just did up
In
here.
your neighborhood.
Yeah, a big chunk of land.
And is that not the Spencer Brook?
It's Lower Spencer Brook, I think is what they call it. It's right near the Punch Club.
Yeah, no, that's near,
Yeah.
we must live near each other a little bit.
That's right, yeah. Are you off of Strawberry Hill?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
They had a great, this is off topic, they had a really great, Land Trust had a great bird watch for woodcocks up there.
oh, nice.
Last spring, and I hope they do it again. It was like one of the.
Did they find some woodcocks?
Oh, yeah, we saw a bunch of.
Was it the Upper Spencer Brook Trail? That's a
It was
beautiful.
right in the,
That trail's
it's the
gorgeous.
place you walk off of Lowell Road.
Okay.
get in there.
Another metric.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, right.
Newfield.
Right, but if that is something they do every year, right, that the counts, or, I mean.
Yeah.
We don't have to get into it, but I think if we can sort of start thinking about, especially if we have the 5 pillars or however we do it. Again, those key metrics that we could just sort of name and then measure every year, so it's not just sort of a rolled up 5-year figure.
Let's ask the natural resources people.
Yeah, I'm not saying we're doing the work, it's an ask, but I think, I guess the point is, there's probably some things that they're already doing. It would not be a heavy lift to just get that data and then report on it.
I'm curious if they're doing any biodiversity projects with the white pine, removing old growth white pine and replanting hardwoods or something like that. Because I think that'd be a good project in town. So I don't know if, again, we should have Donald follow it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot there, especially with the population of deer and just the real threat to forest regeneration. I mean,
Yeah.
that's something we really need to be looking at.
Mm.
It's a big threat.
So keeping on track, do you have more work to do on that? Are you pretty happy with that write-up? Should we approve it and submit it?
It always makes me nervous when I don't hear any edits.
I didn't have a chance to review it.
I was gonna say, I sort of skimmed it, I did not do, but I would just say from a readability standpoint, I think it's great, there's a lot in there, but if we can maybe either bullet or make more paragraphs, there's a lot of long stretches of text.
Yeah, this longest paragraph is one I could bullet. I would be reticent to bullet more just because it's gonna be long
Yeah,
compared to other committee
I
reports.
see.
Is that gonna be a point of sensitivity if we have a lot of words,
Kill if you free.
take up a lot of space?
I think there were some basic guidelines,
Yeah,
for word count and length, but I don't have them.
okay.
I raised the outlier issue about pavement in town and whether that is ever something that. I know it's not quantified as an emission source. But we know we can reduce emissions if we use more sustainable pavement. And I don't know,
Well, that's for the climate action plan.
oh, that's gonna be the plan, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine,
We didn't do anything about it this year.
okay, that's fine, I just,
Well, unless.
I know the only
Unless
reason-
you had sent stuff to Shannon, you were gonna send stuff. to
I did
Shannon.
send stuff to Shannon.
Okay,
And the only question I understand is that there were a lot of contracts being issued for paving this year. Is what there's some,
Yes.
I think I heard that in one of these meetings,
Mhm.
so I don't know whether anything. Has been integrated to at least look at that. Okay,
I can follow up on that.
Thank you.
I don't know.
That would be great, because I think we passed a town meeting, it's a lot of, to do this work, and there's a lot of catch up work that's being done.
great, on the roads.
The roads, yeah,
Mhm, good.
yeah, so,
Even just tarring the roads where they make, put the tar on the cracks, they can use crumb rubber and that to
Mm.
make it more sustainable.
yeah,
I know other towns do that. So,
yeah. So Brad, thank you for writing it, I think it's really well. So yeah, I'm sorry you didn't get as much feedback as you, but I think it's really well done and just, you know. Also very good to point out things like, this middle school building rooftop being stalled out, but that there's overwhelming support and that will, you know, continue to push on that.
Yeah, I was specifically interested to hear if anybody had a problem with me including that small little passage.
I don't personally, but I don't, you know, there's sort of.
So I think that this is going to be due before our next meeting. So we need to resolve how we're going to go about perfecting it and getting it submitted. I would suggest maybe that somebody make a motion to memorialize me to perfect the language and submit it pending any last suggested edits from everybody. And that we try to have those edits by the end of next week. That is a motion I would
What
suggest.
date is that?
The end of next week is probably Christmas, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
26. Well, middle of next week.
You Scrooge, you want everybody doing this instead of their last minute shopping? I was gonna get people a debt. Well, I'm not gonna make the motion because I'm chairing the meeting,
I'll
so,
make a motion.
okay, tell us what you wanna do.
Yeah, finish it off and submit it with any comments people make that he sees fit to include.
And those will be due by when?
By
And
when?
perfection is not a goal, so the word perfection doesn't apply here.
By what date?
By, you know, the last day of this year.
On the 31st, okay. I heard a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye, please
Aye.
oppose, no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. And I wanted to follow up on our conversation from last meeting regarding town meeting. Did anybody have any further thinking about anything that we as a committee might want to bring to town meeting?
I was not able to attend the meeting this weekend. Was there any, was there anything that we should glean from that? Prepared?
Yes, yeah, so I would say, if the recording's not already up on the website, it will be
It is.
soon, it is. So it's posted on the town clerk's, page, on these effective governance briefings. I think it's, a good idea to watch it, just so that we're all more grounded in how town meeting goes, even if we don't have something this year.
Mhm.
It's good to keep in mind for next year or the year after, whenever our committee brings something forward. So I would recommend watching video. I need to watch the video because I couldn't be there, I was out of town. But no, I think if you have time to do it, you should watch it at some point, all of us should. It is possible that there will be a citizen petition relevant to our issue areas. There are some folks who are working on the solar municipal policy that we talked about. I don't know.
September.
It was September.
Do we have a draft or do we know what's?
We don't have a draft. The people who are working on it are Charlie Parker and Dean Banfield. They didn't have something for this meeting. They wanted to come and talk to us in February. I encouraged them to try to come next month before the warrant closes. But they're very seriously considering bringing it to town meeting. I think in a little bit later in the agenda, we can talk a little bit more about some conversations that have been happening, that Megan's had. This is something which, according to our annual report, we're gonna return to next year. So maybe we'll do it under the color of a citizen petition, and if they don't move forward, I think we'll still be trying to have that conversation with them and with interested town staff as well. So there could be that on the horizon there. Who knows what other citizen petitions that we don't know about might be in the works that we may want to take a look at. But it sounds as if there's nothing that we as a committee want to bring forward. Is that accurate?
Nothing I have just a question about, there's a real rise in these sort of, apartment style deck solar panels that you can kind of plug and play. They're really huge in Germany, and I'm just wondering if somebody wanted to have it, is there anything that our policies in town would deny them access to that? I'm just thinking, future thinking, like people in apartment buildings or people who want to do that kind of thing. I just want to make sure it's possible in the town.
That would be a question for CMLP, I think.
Okay.
There was a really interesting webinar by Mass CEC a week ago or more, maybe a little, which I could send a link around. But they had a couple of people who know about balcony solar, and they had dug into a certain amount of detail and tried to explain what the issues were and so forth. I think it's not the regulatory system and standards and so forth, they're maybe not quite there for there being an obvious path to get it permitted.
Yeah.
But it's very cool, and hopefully CMLP maybe we could ask them whether they could accelerate, deciding how they could support it quickly.
Is there video available from that?
There was a video, well, I assume they'll make it available, send it around.
That would be great. Yeah, I'd love to watch that.
Yeah, because I think just, choice, ability to have solar in different ways and just making sure that we as a town aren't sort of slowing people down with some of this progress.
And on a related subject, I think the fire department doesn't allow people to put batteries in their garages here. So there's another technology which could potentially use a policy around it. Or at least enough research for the fire department to decide, to be more flexible on.
Are they allowed to put them elsewhere in their homes, just not the garage? Or
No, not in your.
not in your home, period?
Outside.
I see, okay.
Are the balcony solar, are those batteries? Are they tied to meters enough?
I don't think they normally come with batteries.
So it's tied to the meter then, or,
No, you plug it into a regular outlet in the wall
okay,
or on your balcony.
and then it feeds on
Unbelievably, yes, it feeds back.
other things in the house. Okay.
Right, thus causing questions about whether it truly protects your panel and everything else. They're thinking about it, and there's lots of fancy electronics to address it, and
Mhm.
people say it hasn't been a problem yet, which is good.
CMLP probably should make a statement about it or do something about it for a little bit.
Yeah, because I think it's a technology that's kind of accelerating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. A lot of people talk about it among energy geeks, and so it'll turn up. People will be asking the Light Plant about it for long if we don't.
Yeah.
To ask Jason. to just-
Interestingly, if you combine that with in the window heat pumps that don't require any kind of installation at all, and also plug into 110,
Yeah.
you've got like, whoa, all kinds of stuff that people could start to do without telling anyone about it.
Right.
I'm sure the fire department would love that. Should we move on, or do you wanna,
Sure, I have one.
go ahead?
Thing to mention here. I was talking with the director of CMLP the other day, and he it reminded me that he is happy to come to a meeting and discuss, anything. I think it would be most effective if there was, kind of a collection of questions and discussion topics, so that he can be most prepared. But he said he usually watches all these meetings after I'm in Man Media, so hello to Jason in the future.
Hello, Jason.
And, I think if the committee has specific questions and would like to hear from him, he told me he's, happy to come and do that. So however that fits in your agenda.
That'd be great.
whatever topics, I
I
think.
think that would be great, yeah, so maybe a January, February meeting, and we can just prep for it.
Great.
And I liked your, by the way, your podcast, that's a, you had it with Jason, right? Yeah.
Oh, yes, thank you. Yep, that was a good one.
So speaking of the deputy town manager's operations, let's move on. Just want to note the time is 7:46 right now, so we're a little bit behind. Let's hear your update.
Sure, I have a written report in the packet. I'm gonna go a little bit out of order and start to mention that we just applied for municipal vulnerability preparedness MVP 2.0. And that is, we completed our original MVP plan in 2018. And there's a list of communities that did it that year, and now we are being kind of expected and asked by the Commonwealth to do this secondary MVP 2.0. And it is looking for more kind of equity centered in community engagement. I think it's pretty exciting time for it to sync up with us, because as we applied for it, but we're pretty sure we'll get it because we've been asked to apply for it. And I think the timing will actually align with our climate action plan, and it will be a way to get more input into that and maybe kind of do some things together. And be really focused on prioritizing the socially vulnerable in this plan, which seems like a
Which tends to mean elderly and the lower income people in affordable housing, so.
yes. We were asked, one of the questions is I'm forgetting the acronym for it, but do we have a community justice block?
EJ.
Yeah, thank you. And we do technically on paper,
The prison.
but it's the prison.
Oh.
So my answer was,
Oh, we don't.
No,
we did, we don't anymore, but what is that, getting diverse and vulnerable, feedback look like for us? It looks a little different, but we will, have those discussions and prioritize that. So that was submitted, and I think this is gonna be an exciting opportunity to align this work with our other work. And when we're working with Weston and Sampson on the climate action plan, spoiler alert for later, but we haven't finalized our contract yet. We hope to soon, but they reached out they saw that Concord's on the list, and they said, "You're doing this right, because this can all connect," and they said yes. So we got that application in last week. I attended a fleet electrification ribbon cutting at Minuteman Art last week, and State Senator Barrett was there and had some remarks. Now, 1/3 of their fleet is electrified, and they used a really creative model. I was trying to take notes during it, but I might follow up with more information. And they had a lot of very nice things to say about CMLP's responsiveness. I think I wrote in here that they went from shovel to power in 16 days, and all the feedback was no one's seen that in their whole career. Just really, high praise for the CMLP team, which was, they were present as well. Last meeting, there was a request for an update on our ESCO effort, and so I do have a little bit of an update here. Last summer, we were pursuing a request for qualifications to hire a firm to do this energy contract work in Concord. And at that time, some things have changed since then. We have a land use working group that has one work stream that's really looking at municipal consolidation. And we're looking at a lot of our buildings and thinking about, could we reorganize, and are we going to keep all these buildings? And we're not sure. And so at the same time, Power Options has been, which is what are they exactly called?
They're,
Aggravated.
no, they're energy services.
Energy services, yeah, thank you. There's a lot of.
for nonprofits and
That's
government.
right, mainly nonprofits.
You all know what I'm saying, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good firm. that
So,
Power-
yeah, so I'm working with them on the decarb roadmap. So they are, they could be a natural gas contractor for the town. They have this new service which is basically an ESCO for members, but it's a building decarbonization as a service. And we knew that this was happening in the fall. They were doing an RFP on their own to select a company to do this work, an ESCO. And they have launched that program, but we are not a member yet, so we have to become a member. Sorry, Brad, did you have a question on that?
We should become a member, yeah.
Absolutely.
Working on that, yeah.
It's kind of, it connects a little bit to the conversation I had at the Middlesex, at the, Sustainable Middlesex, which was about, the Green Communities Climate Leaders Program. Where we'll be eligible, once we get this decarbonization roadmap, we'll be eligible for like $1 million grants on decarbonizing. So do they take that into account and in sort of how we plan the process? Cause
We are using them on a separate track for our decarbonization roadmap,
Right.
which I expect to get a draft by the end of this month.
right.
So that's some progress there. But yeah, so I think like this ESCO piece has been a priority, but like how are we gonna get it done and under this changing landscape a little bit? We do have a gas contractor right now that is not Power Options. But from what I understand, they have auto renewed us, which is not allowed under Mass General Law. They happen sometimes, subscription based and services. So I have, working with our team here, identified, broken this down into some steps. I was just filling Brad in ahead of time. First, I have to figure out how to get out of this old contract, then get into the new one, and then join this program. So that is what I'm working towards, and I have received the old contract, so I'm pouring through that language right now, and we'll bring on town council if we need to. It shouldn't be that onerous. I think I mentioned it to our senior management team on Monday, and our finance team has had similar problems with some auto renews, and it's a path for getting them. So we are working on it. That is my update.
Is the membership just sort of sign us up, or what, is there a big hurdle there, or what?
No, it's like, it will be it's a company or an organization that will help us get a predictable rate for natural gas. And so we were using a different company to do that, but if we use this one, then they have this additional benefit. I think it's like $200 a year to join this ESCO program, and then it really saves us a lot of time and not having to go through and pick a firm and work on our own, because they are supporting a lot of municipalities and nonprofits in
This
this
is
work.
Power Options, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I went to a climate conference, and I know that MIT, Harvard, like they did a big project in Cambridge,
Mm,
which sounded really amazing, like, and using sort of like solar panels in Texas to offset
whoa.
some, I mean, it's not relevant to us, but just what Power Options was able to do was pretty extraordinary project. I can provide more
That's
details
true.
about it, it's interesting, but I was just impressed with them, so I'm
Oh,
happy
yeah.
that we're moving forward with them.
Okay, we are moving forward on our SOASCO Climate Collaborative MVP Action Grant, and when I was talking about the MVP 2.0, that is required to continue with, expecting any future action grants, and so we have an action grant right now, so that's a big, another reason why we're moving forward on that. Today, we had our first municipal focus group with, a number of staff from cities and towns in the region. And I think it was a little bumpy at first, getting all these folks on the call and talking about different concerns they have in their community and how this collaborative can best support them. But once people kind of warmed up, issues of capacity across the, communities kept on coming up, flooding, drought, there was a lot of good information that was captured. So we have a second municipal focus group on January 7th. And at 2:30 in the afternoon, and we're happy to, if people want to listen in on that, happy to have participation. Is
it live streamed or Zoom?
It is Zoom,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I'm also excited to see that youth are included, and I'm curious to know which youth and how they got
That's a
involved.
good idea.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I'm a big advocate of youth development and.
Yes, we have that spelled out in the scope. To reach out to municipal partners, to kind of some of these watershed organizations and in a youth focus group. And I can find out more information. I think that's the last one we're gonna have. We're starting with municipal because it's like people we know. Then we're shifting into the water and then towards the youth one. I'll likely be, I think probably a little bit in the spring. But how are we finding them? I will follow up on that to find out exactly what the outreach plan is. But we are having a community, I say community wide, it's a project wide meeting of for all the communities within this region on March 25th, but we're hosting in Concord. So we're gonna have it at Harvey Wheeler. After the January 7th focus group, that is when we're gonna launch the advertising for it. We just don't wanna kind of mix people up. And our town communication manager is developing branding for this effort so that we're using the same colors and fonts and logos, and so that people can get familiar with communication from us. So once we have the final, we have the plan for that meeting, but once we're ready to launch that campaign, we'll send it out to all of you because we really want to have a good showing from Concord as we're the lead on the grant and we are hosting this. But I'd say from the participation today, a few weeks before Christmas, holiday times, in the week of Hanukkah, we had a lot of people that are interested, and I expect we'll get even more in January. So people are looking for additional resources. Okay, go through. Then I did mention our decarbonization roadmap from Power Options. I spoke with our contact there. They expect to give it to us the first draft before Christmas. I mentioned maybe a little bit earlier that our Civic Concord podcast is really a sustainability podcast. Every topic has a through line of sustainability that is kind of weaved in. So our latest one is on the stormwater utility, which is a primary goal, well, not a major goal, I would say, in large undertaking from our climate action plan. And so if people want to learn more about that, that is out. Our next podcast that will come out at the end of the month is with the library director. They're doing major sustainability efforts. So we talk about that and about their, kind of climate planning and how they implement changes within the library. And then I don't know if Kim mentioned this, but as part of the campaign for this major initiative with heat pumps, we are having a heat pump podcast that we have scheduled. So we will record and come out in time to plug the home tours.
Yeah, that's great.
So that is exciting.
In order to plug the what?
The home tours.
Oh, okay.
So next week, sign up for the school.
Just FYI, Linda's hand's been up for quite a while, but I don't know if we.
That's not her hand.
Oh,
That's-
Goodness,
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for looking at that.
Oh, and the one I left for last, is at our last meeting, we talked about coordinating with National Grid. And so we did that in the last week or 2 weeks ago. So we had a coordination call with National Grid. Fran participated, so I don't know if you have anything you want to add in, if that's appropriate at this time, but I would say, National Grid is a big organization and there are a lot of people on the call that didn't know each other and they were meeting for the first time, as we were meeting them. And they told us about a team they have, which is the Future of Heat, who were not on the call, but sounds like people we need to know and learn from. They talked about how they do meet with our public works team on a regular basis to coordinate. And we talked about I'd say what they can do for non-pipeline alternatives. Is that what we're talking about? But we talked about how, what is their role and what is our role, and how can the Climate Action Committee help them with moving the needle on some of the projects that we all want to see done. So it was really an intro meeting, but they talked about wanting to have a more working session with National Grid and the town to talk more about opportunity areas and kind of look at maybe projects that didn't move forward and figure out why and think about other projects that might be on the docket for the future. And I did ask them if they'd be interested in coming to a climate action meeting. They said absolutely. So that is another potential agenda item.
When you say winter 26, is that February, March, or is that November, December?
I would say February, March. I think we want to have this first meeting or second meeting, I guess, a January meeting where we are a little bit more less introductory and more specific and prepare for our presentation to you all. That's a proposal, but Fran, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to weigh in on that.
Yeah, I think if we are clear what we want to get out of it with them,
Yeah.
it could lead to something. I mean,
Yeah.
they may just be stringing us along. They talked about Mass Save, which is fine, but sort of as a separate thing. They talked about, they actually have an initiative when a new customer wants to connect, buy gas from them, who isn't already using gas. They intervene to say, are you really sure you want to do that? Because we're shutting down the system here or whatever. And I thought they were saying that if somebody calls them for new gas, they would call the town and say, heads up, this is a funny situation, what should we do about it? Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Weird, but interesting. I think we ought to.
They're required to do that, or they're just doing that because they themselves.
It's in a climate plan somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
I found it somewhere and I thought, oh, that's what they were talking about.
Oh,
So maybe they're required by the DPU to do something like that. I'm not sure. But that doesn't happen all that often, I don't think, but it's sort of interesting and positive. I think if we said to them, our climate plan calls for moving 2,000 people of your customers off of gas in the next 5 years. Let's pick the 2,000 or pick some neighborhoods where we're gonna start. And how should we, if CMLP was sort of, if we worked with them first and we sort of set a target like that, and we could all sit down with National Grid and said, this is what we're doing here in Concord, and it's happening everywhere, but we're just talking about this. How can you help us actually engage with customers and offer services and move this? So we actually convert people to heat pumps, even if they don't disconnect immediately from the system. I mean, I think if we've got a goal, they could
Right.
at least say whether they're willing to help or not.
So
That's the way I would go about
I'm
it.
curious about how this, we're starting the climate action planning effort, and in fact, we're gonna have, Weston and Sampson coming to some meetings and have more than 5 minutes of discussion. These meetings tend to be, the first hour and more of updates, and we don't get to the climate action part, so we'll need to devote sizable chunks of time for us to, move ideas around the table with the climate action plan. How does that interact with, do we wanna rush with National Grid before that, or?
Well, I think that could be part of crafting something to go in the plan, the
Yeah.
5-year update. I mean, you can't just stick something in the update that says, here's what we're gonna do with National Grid. And then
Right,
they say, no, we're not doing that. So I think we ought to say, we're writing a 5-year plan update. We wanna put this in it.
Okay.
So let's meet until we're clear what's going on. I also actually have an idea that if we had more time in the meeting, I'd like to talk about how many customers, I just said 2,000. I thought about that. That would be about get us to half, a 50% reduction by 2030 for natural gas. That's a lot of customers in
Right.
5 years, but we're on a curve. I mean, if you look at heat pumps, we're on a curve, an exponential curve. So, I think we ought to discuss what would be reasonable. What do we think?
Right.
Are we gonna work from 50% by 2030 and work back, or say, well, that's not actually gonna happen, let's build a. But if we could get CMLP
Right,
on the same wavelength, they've got a program, they'd start implementing, we're gonna
right,
deliver this program to meet these metrics, this many participants. And then get National Grid into it, could be really interesting.
right. I think we should have that discussion, at a
Yeah,
meeting where we come prepared and say, here's some scenarios. Because simply saying 2,000 people, that would be like all of residence C or something. I don't think that doesn't sound very realistic, but We have to figure out.
But if we don't do that, then we're not gonna meet our 2030 goals. So this is not a discussion for today, but.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is our meeting next month before or after this next meeting in January?
Hasn't been scheduled,
Hasn't been scheduled, okay.
or our climate action committee meeting has been scheduled, this.
The
This
National
discussion,
Grid,
no, hasn't.
has not, because that, yeah, we could talk
But
about.
if we all think it's a good idea, we could get back to them and say, we'd like to schedule something, when's your
Yeah.
availability?
Yeah. that's-
Does your
Well-
sustainability dashboard widget already have a number plotted into it for if we were to be doing our fair share of emission reduction under the state goals, this is how many more we need? Do we already have that number
No,
on that
we don't.
dashboard?
There's a number on the dashboard for that, but I would disregard that number. I think we are smart enough to
Number
know
would be-
where we are and, what we, need to do for 2050, for 2030.
Uh-huh.
Now, there's different, I'm kind of getting into climate action planning a little bit, but,
That's okay, that's the
there's
next
oil
thing.
and gas, and maybe we're starting with the oil. And starting slower with the gas, that actually makes more sense from a price point of view. And then there's home heating and EV. So there's like, maybe, in terms of reaching our goal for 2030, we should think about, how do we get there, the share of those things and, oil versus gas. We could certainly bring some numbers together in a month time, of reasonable scenarios.
Having just gone through this for the past month of the heat pump side of this,
Yeah,
even working with a coach. The diversity of bids I received, plus the diversity of these homes in Concord that have been expanded and built upon over 150 years.
Yeah.
Makes it very challenging. I mean, my house was built in the 1980s and it was very challenging,
yeah,
and it's not it. And yet it was still challenging to
yeah.
put a heat pump in there.
Yes,
So I just think that I wanna be optimistic that it's gonna be easy to get 2,000 gas people to switch, but who knows what their houses look like, their electrical panels, they're
Right.
ducted. And you know how complicated it is.
It's,
I know.
So I don't know how to simplify that. That's the problem. And Kim simplifies it, but we need a lot of Kims. To
yes,
help.
so that's the point, is we need to staff up.
We need staffing to help out, really handhold on this, because I consider myself relatively, bright about this stuff, it was over my head a lot, so.
but
Sure.
even with the staffing, even with the hand holding, it's incredibly complicated.
Yes.
I
It
mean,
will inevitably be complicated, yeah.
it's not an easy, yeah.
So my bids went from $30,000 to $60,000.
Yeah.
From 3 bids, I'm looking at that, and how could they be so different?
Yeah,
So,
So I think it would be good to have one meeting with Weston and Sampson. And then bring, and talk about the process for how we do climate action plan, and then have a meeting that involves National Grid. And with some work ahead of time to try to figure out what we want, what we might wanna ask them. Maybe-
yeah, but I like what Fran was saying, that we have a carrot and a stick with this plan for National Grid.
Yeah.
Right now, they can choose to work with us on this plan and be incorporated and walk with us, or we can,
Okay.
I think that's really a good way to get them involved in a really strong way. Because we have a plan that we're working on. I don't know.
We've already more or less moved on to talking about the climate action plan. Is there anything else to say about the deputy town manager's plan before we formally move on in the agenda?
No,
Okay,
I think she should be complimented on being so busy on all our accounts, moving so many things through.
Exciting times here.
Shannon, did you wanna chime in?
Climate is all the work we're doing is climate work, that's what we're saying
Yeah,
now.
right,
It's
right.
all-
there's a saying that every job's a climate job.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
right.
all connected,
Good,
so
Thank you.
yes.
thank you.
Shannon, are you trying to chime in on something?
Just when we talk about the climate action plan.
Gotcha.
Thank you to Shannon too. You guys are doing a lot of work.
So what else do we have to say about the climate action plan?
Is there a kickoff meeting?
Well, Shannon I think has the, can give an update on the contract.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, so we just sent the contract over to them last week and their legal team reviewed and sent back their comments today and our legal team approved it today. So it's going to be routed for signature now.
How soon do we party?
Well, I think, you know, Fran and Shannon and I met this week to, talk a little bit about the climate action plan and I am thinking about this kind of brainstorming and like, is it worth having another brainstorming kind of conversation to be ready to talk to the first kickoff meeting? You know, I don't know schedule wise, but you know, there's a lot, I think a lot of folks have a lot of ideas about what they would like this update to look like. And we've talked a little bit about it in the process when we were selecting a vendor, but you know, thinking about what did get done, what didn't get done, you know, that was one whole piece and a lot of people did a lot of work on that. But then what is the future? You know, things have changed in 5 years and what are our priorities? And Fran and I were talking a lot about like the metrics that we want to be tracking and being like kind of clear and disciplined, I'd say, about doing that and how to build that in and just, you know, I don't know if there has been kind of that conversation with enough time to say, what are some of the, like, let's bring up this whiteboard and kind of make a list of the focused version of this next phase. So that,
Are you
There's a
suggesting
whiteboard
that,
there, look at that.
I know, I brought it in here, I love it.
are you suggesting that we try to stage that kind of a meeting in addition to our regularly scheduled programming in January?
I think it's a possibility. I also, I mean, I know we're running late, but we did have, you know, a little time here and the contracting piece took, you know, 2 seconds for telling you. So I don't know. People want to just like spend 10 minutes and throw some things on a whiteboard or schedule or both, schedule another time or, you know.
I have one comment, and that's about the solar project at the middle school and how that affects. And that's a clear example of why isn't that project going forward? I don't fully understand it, but I read in the paper, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But
Yeah,
and again, that's an example we can point. I'd like some victories that we could point to, you know.
I'd like to have an extra brainstorming meeting where we just take an hour of
Mhm.
brainstorming about. How about this, how about that, what is this, how would we measure this, how would we, and not try to fit it in a few minutes. I think it'd be good,
I'd be happy to attend that as well.
yeah.
What's your schedule look like for, say, 3 weeks from now?
And New Year's Eve?
Skiing. Party.
You know, I'm happy to do something the first week in January.
I can send a scheduling poll out to the group.
Sounds good. Is it this is definitely an evening item? I don't know people's schedules, so this could be, are there other times that we
It
should?
might be better at brainstorming if it was in the morning.
I'm flexible in terms of schedule, I don't have to be evening. I don't know about the others. I mean,
Yeah.
it's helpful for you guys, you don't have to work late.
Well, that's, you know,
So I'd rather-
one piece, but,
If you're scheduled.
it could be a lunchtime,
You're looking at the week of the 6th or 5th, you know, but.
I'd like to,
Tuesday at lunch, the 6th, how about that?
I may have to do jury duty that day,
Oh.
Monday,
but it's not.
Monday the 5th.
That would work for me.
well, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, Tuesday's the only day that week that is 7 off limits.
are people able to come in to the office midday? Or is that, we can do hybrid too, I suppose, but,
In person's nice, yeah.
I'd come,
I'm available.
yeah,
Good, I'll be here.
brown bag lunch,
Love it.
climate action brainstorming, we'll keep the whiteboard.
But it would be public meeting. People
Yeah.
can come and-
Sure,
And that's at noon?
yeah. Okay, thank you. Look forward to that.
Well, we can talk about this then, but I do think one thing we need to do is have someone do an inventory, you know, the MAPC inventory spreadsheet. I went and looked to find the ones from the past,
Yeah,
and we do have good ones for 2016 and 2019 and so, but I didn't see anything really recent.
I will show you, it's there.
Yeah.
You, but maybe.
Call my attention to the more recent, to the, whatever's the most recent, but I think we should try to get that done ASAP so that it doesn't hang over the process. I mean, I think we should sort of start with the kind of, are we on track discussion at some point, say, are we writing a 5-year update that basically is like, just we're on track, we're gonna fine tune, or have we got a problem here, Houston, we have a problem, we need to come up with something new.
Yeah.
Because we're running behind, we're not gonna make it to 2030. So,
Um,
and that, so that requires an inventory, even if it's not like completely exhaustive, every little number.
well, if we want an inventory, that means something, it has to be kind of exhaustive if it's gonna be compared with.
So I understand, yeah,
So,
but there are some very small numbers in there that could scare me.
yeah, the trouble is, it's hard to see differences unless you do everything consistently.
Yeah. Yeah,
Where are these, are they in the climate action committee folders or are they somewhere else?
There's some that
We're on our
are
website.
linked to in the Climate Action Committee Google Drive folders. Now, we have also talked about moving all that stuff
Yeah,
over to.
I know, that's on my list.
To Microsoft Word.
Oh, really?
Uh,
I like Google Drive.
So,
Okay.
but I can show you where they are now. I can
Could you
send
send it to the Goals Committee?
a update about where to.
yeah, I downloaded a whole bunch of stuff from Google or wherever the hell it was. And there were an awful lot of old files from 2008 or whatever. But I just didn't find it.
Yeah.
Anything that was real recent.
It's possible that that it's not, if it's on the drive, that it's not shared to Fran. He may
Yeah,
not
totally fine.
see it.
Um,
So I think the suggestion is just send it to everyone is.
Yeah, the
is
most
probably-
recent, because then we wanna be, when we're talking
Yeah.
through this, we wanna have all the most recent information.
and good. And then if we wanna do a 2025 inventory, we have to figure out when the data will be available. We can get the assessor's data from, last day of 2025. We can get. the
I feel okay with
data-
2024, you know, that data is all basically gonna be available.
Yeah.
I think it's more important that we have a number soon to know if we're on track or not than it necessarily be like, as of the end of December. We haven't even got there yet.
Okay. Good.
Any more on this, or shall we move on?
We were expecting that in January CAC meeting, Weston and Sampson would join us for that. Is that what we're expecting?
I would hope that they would. We should certainly let them know about it, about our plan and invite them, be friendly. And if not, if they can't be there for some reason, we would then invite them to come to our next one. Yeah,
And if they do come, maybe we could figure out a way to accelerate the beginning of the meeting. Like expect everybody to read all the stuff ahead of time or something. So that
Well,
we don't
we
have to
can-
talk too much at the beginning. So we really give them the time to.
what I think would make the most sense and it would be to structure it so that we do all of the beginning of the meeting stuff at the end.
Huh.
Um,
Even better.
Also being sensitive to, they're coming from out of town. You don't want them to be getting home at 10,
How thoughtful.
Well, when I think about, what our kickoff is gonna look like exactly, and how to incorporate, attendance at these meetings. The budget is not enormous here and we need to be really specific and targeted about what we're getting out of each, interaction, especially in person. So I don't know, I can't say for sure if the January meeting would make the most sense to have that. But I think that when we are having other meetings with the with Weston and Sampson, it might be helpful to think about like, how can we involve the climate action committee in those? That's like not always public meeting, right? Is there take turns or, different specialties, have one person on that? I think the last 2 months I've had a lot of benefit from working with individuals on certain projects, and I think it's been helpful. So how, from the committee, so how do you all want to do that? And it will be a role of reporting back, and I want to make sure everyone's connected. We can't do everything in a public forum all the time, but when we have them come to a meeting, we want to make it really worth our while, I think. And maybe it would be more of facilitating public coordination, or having them zoom in. How are we just going to be targeted about this?
Right.
It remains to be seen, but
I think in an initial meeting, we have to sort of meet them and hear about, discuss the process that we're gonna follow for the next.
Yeah.
10 months.
Yep.
And how do we do exactly what you said?
Yeah.
That's worth doing and not putting off.
And if people have ideas about it, that's a good come with ideas about how we think that.
I think I just heard you with a pretty good suggestion that if individual members of the committee have areas that they're particularly interested in, like I'm not that interested in transportation and nature, because I don't know anything about them, but I know about buildings and energy. So if we could identify areas where you could call on 1 or 2 people for any given meeting, and the rest of us would be okay with not participating, that might be quite productive.
Okay.
Excellent. So shall we talk about GSEP? Fran had given to us the draft comments for DPU, talking about National Grid GSEP plan. Do you want to kind of put this into context also with the preliminary meeting that you had with them? Do those two things?
Well, they
talk to
connect
each
a
other
little.
in any way?
They connect a little, just because a lot of the substantive stuff about this big transition we're all in cuts into both the filing with the department and the whole GSEP planning process and whatever they're gonna talk with us locally about. But this is about the DPU's process where they require the utilities to give them a GSEP plan. I've forgotten at the moment what GSEP stands for, it's just like all these. The DPU has maybe 10 or 12 different proceedings on the gas industry and trying to, do affordability and climate and this pipeline stuff. So this is only one piece of what the DPU is doing with grid. And it would be only one piece of what we would be doing with grid. But it's very specific to pipes and leaks and replacement of pipes. So I've written this with a real focus on leaks. That's sort of underlies everything that the DPU is doing here. It's all about fixing leaks. But the utility is figuring out ways of converting fixing leaks into making long-term profits by replacing every stretch of pipe they can get their hands on. So they have an incentive to replace more and more pipe. We have an incentive to get the leaks fixed, but that doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. So what this is saying is, we're not seeing, you're telling us you got all these leaks. They give us the address of the leak and the date that it was reported, and whether it's been fixed or not.
It seems like they're not fixing them.
They don't appear to be fixed.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
We see them in our neighborhood,
Yeah,
walking the dog. We call and they don't get fixed.
right. So it's not really part of the GSEP thing, but I've sort of emphasized, we want them fixed. The whole idea is, tell us which are the bad ones, so we'll understand, and tell us when you're gonna fix them.
If I may, just for the benefit of minutes and also Jason listening on the call in 2 weeks or whenever, it's gas system enhancement program.
Yeah.
And this is.
Thank you.
This is an approximately $40 billion state program.
Wow.
Over 10 years.
The B.
Yeah, ratepayer funded. And the point on the profiteering is one of the main lines of critique that groups like Mothers Out Front on our call here have brought forward, where it is so much more profitable for these methane companies to replace pipelines rather than repair leaks. So if you have a leak, it's much more profitable to you to replace all of the conduit in the ground rather than simply address the point at which that pipe is leaking.
Right. And,
That sounds so corrupt somehow.
and to be honest with you, that's in another world, that's the rational way to do it. Everything else is Band-Aid.
True.
However, you know, fixing these things so that last another 100 years is what we're talking about, so.
So one other intro comment I could make is that I have stayed away from sort of radical comments like "you corrupt bastards, how could you be doing this?" Or, you know, proposals like, you know, we think that, you know, the company's profits should be cut by something, or, you know, the Mothers Out Front has identified some comments about the economic and regulatory logic of the pipeline replacement part. And I figured we're a town. It's not really our problem to figure out what the statewide budget is. We don't really have, you know, embedded in our town capability to go toe to toe with grids experts or the DPU's expert. But we can say we're breathing the air. We have a climate plan that quantified the leaks at 2% or something, which sounds right at the moment like it's not high enough number. And we're replacing gas use from our climate plan. So, but we're not gonna be using these pipes, people. We're trying to get rid of the need for these pipes.
Yeah.
And so I tried to emphasize stuff that is relevant to us, that we can speak about. We've got a climate plan, we don't like leaks, so. So it's a little mild, you know, maybe it's milder than I would like normally write something like this. It also is a huge amount of what strikes people probably as absurd detail. Like how many feet there are 4 segments on Elsinore Street. And it took me a little while to figure out which segment the leak that was reported probably is on. And I went back over to Elsinore Street and I looked at the markings, and it's got 4-inch pipe from here to here. So it's really obvious. I had misinterpreted it the first time. So that's one reason it got changed a little. But I'm hoping that the reading of this will be, oh my God, there's this little town.
Yeah.
Where they got this bridge thing that we know about, and these people are like trying to read all this stuff. And they've got all this data about their town that makes no sense to them and doesn't add up and leaves them like, what's this all about? So I think it will be helpful for the DPU to say, this plan is like absurd. It didn't answer people's questions. The data doesn't connect. They leave all kinds of stuff out. So
even that 2%, it's 2% of what? What is it 2% of?
it's in here somewhere.
They had a quantity
I
of consumption.
quoted it from the.
I don't know, I saw the 2.7% or whatever the number.
It's of all the gas that we use. We
Yes,
assume
yes.
another 2% is lost from here all the way to Pennsylvania and Louisiana.
So it was in this community specifically?
No, it's all the
Oh,
gas that leaks from the whole pipeline system.
That's a big number then. It's a lot of methane.
Probably more like 10%.
Uh,
Or 5, at
least,
least.
that's a big number, a lot of methane.
Yeah.
It is, though.
But it was part of our sort of rationale for sending comments in.
Gotcha, right, sure.
We're writing a plan, we got a number in our plan.
Yeah.
And you're talking about all these crazy leaks, how does that affect the number in our plan?
Yep. And they're probably gonna quantify it, you would think they would. You don't think they quantified?
I mean, they have a table with a what looks to be feet of pipeline that are engaged in the leak.
But they don't have any leak rates, they have no leak rates.
I don't think they do.
Okay.
but they should, so that's sort of the point.
Yeah.
So if anybody has any comments or questions, I'd be happy to spend all day talking about this, but
I thought it was terrific.
Great work.
It was great, super detailed.
It needs to go in,
needs to go in by the middle of next week.
Tuesday. I think our deadline's Tuesday. Close of business on
Could be,
Tuesday.
it might be Thursday,
Might, yeah,
maybe it's just,
let's try to get it in by Tuesday.
yeah, I mean, if people are okay with it, and I'll make any changes people want, and we'll just put it in.
Does anybody feel a need to be digging in with edits?
With what?
With edits?
tonight.
There was one.
General,
I do, got it.
No, but you had a placeholder also to continue to add something.
Yeah, I think I fixed that.
Okay.
And I fixed the numbering problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you remove the graph.
I took the map out because the map was wrong. I mean, it had,
That's a good piece.
Yeah. also the map had a lot of dots on it because I was trying to figure out where the oil fired versus gas fired houses were. Cause I thought maybe that would have, but I don't think that's germane really, so.
Very impressive, it was very good.
I'm not hearing anybody looking to make edits either now or in the intervening period, is that right?
I make a motion, we submit it.
Yeah,
For instance.
so, but I would allow Fran to improve, but, you know,
Sure.
and if anything that he sees that makes it more readable or actionable or something, that's great.
Okay, I will email it to the places you need to email it to file it and copy members, I think.
Well, as soon as we vote on it.
Yeah, right.
Any other discussion of that process to memorialize Fran, to put in substantively this pending any perfecting language?
Yeah.
I didn't actually hear a second on that. Could you second? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'd be in line for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Right.
Opposed, no. You guys have it, it's unanimous, so, yeah, please proceed with this basic structure. Now, you had also asked a question via email about whether this would be something to pose to other people in town, particularly the select board.
I thought about that and then I thought, how irritating could we be, like right before Christmas?
The
ask
pro
for
9
pages of
yeah.
whatever you call this. I mean, or you could write a little short thing saying, you know, the select board could say, our climate committee is sending you stuff, we think you ought to read it, or, you know, something like that. But I think, you know, the town basically assigned it to this committee and we filed it, they'll take it as comments of the town.
What about having a reporter cover this story, the Concord Bridge? Has somebody written an article on the Concord Bridge about the leaks in town? Be a good story
It's
for
a
that.
great idea.
Yeah.
I've wondered why we wouldn't encourage Concord Bridge people to come to our meetings sometimes. Maybe we have to create a controversy.
Right.
We could do that.
Yeah, I
I think
think,
that's a really good idea.
I think we should get them to
I think it's
read the
good.
letter and summarize it and make it the front page. Leaks, gas leaks throughout the whole town.
Right?
I think it's a great idea.
Town committee complains to state about 93 gas leaks.
Brad, you know the editor of the paper? Probably.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know anyone over
I
there.
mean, Dakota is the only,
But you can,
he sometimes has contacted me, you know,
They did publish a picture of a Fisher cat that was on my property.
Oh.
Yes, it's
So you should be the one hitting out, you know them, they're best friends. I would say, I would just caution, not to throw cold water or anything, I would wanna think about. You know, if we feel good about working with National Grid,
Hmm.
we wanna think about relationship management there. And not do something very embarrassing while we're trying to establish a relationship
Yeah.
and work in good faith on. Really trying to transition their customers to something that's good for our community.
Yeah, I did put some language in here about how we had recently had a meeting with them and we're looking forward to working cooperatively with them on, you
yeah,
know, conversion and transformation and so forth.
It may also just be good to, when we next talk to them, to reference this file it. I'm sure that they will see us put this in the day that you submit it, but we should, not do that in a vacuum. We should be transparent.
We could probably just send it to the people that we were talking to.
Yeah.
The contact guy. FYI, didn't want you to get blindsided by this.
Who in the town coordinates with National Grid on the repairs?
Engineering,
And do they have statistics on how many have been repaired?
I haven't asked.
No, I'm just curious if they have that information. I mean, I'm just reading that, it seems like very little is getting done.
Yeah, I mean, I thought if I had had more time, it would have been a great idea to go meet with the public works people and, lay out all the stuff and say, they probably know all the answers to all this stuff, but maybe they care about it, maybe they don't. But they probably, we need to create that link and figure out how we're working with them, but not necessarily about this particular document.
I guess I would still like to rabble rouse a bit. If National Grid has been dragging their feet for years on this and the DPW knows that, that could be part of the Concord Bridge story. I mean,
Presumably the story ought to, have some background. And the story would say, National Grid had a great friendly meeting with all these town people and their, mutual expectations of having lots of fun meetings going forward or something.
I think one thing that we should level set, regarding GSEP and what our expectations of that program are. This is a program which it's supposed to fix every leak eventually, right? And you key in on it, it's gonna take them until 2056. There's a reason that it takes a long time. There are something like 10,000, 15,000 documented leaks in the Commonwealth. And there is a prioritization rubric that is going on that is, I'm so out of my depth to even try to describe, but they gotta fix the dangerous stuff that's gonna explode your house first. And something, even if it's big, even if it's major, like the leak, say, near Baker Avenue and Main Street, which was a very large leak, and that was known about for over a decade. It was not imminently going to explode, and so it was just lower priority. And so there is a rubric for fixing every leak. That being said, as many leaks spring up as many new leaks spring up every year as get fixed.
It's a game of whack-a-mole.
That is my impression of the program, yes. So they do have to go to DPU and say, these are the ones we want to fix under this program, and they have to get permission to do it. So there's not a whole lot of discretion there. They have to have approbation on their plan, and that's what this process is. For one reason or another, this at Elsinore Street is now nearing the top of their priority list.
Speaking of level setting, I think I have concluded that while it's useful as a sort of negotiating device to talk about like Elsinore Street, or there was another street before, last year, there were two streets, I guess, that we were looking at, Thoreau and Pond or whatever. These things come and they go fast. We're not getting enough warning that it would ever be realistic to expect that we'd be able to get in and do a non-pipeline conversion program in town before they have to get the leak fixed. Unless we can work with them on the side to set up some, advanced warning or a planning process that would actually work. I think that's more productive. I mean, it's also not super guaranteed to be effective working with them on that. But I think that might be more likely to work in terms of actually getting climate reductions than sort of playing this game with the department. But I think it's useful to do both.
Right, because it's always gonna be inherently reactive. Looking at their plan and,
In the GSEP plan, at least we could perhaps have been more aggressive. We make the point that no more warning is needed, but we could have been more aggressive in saying there should be like a 2 or 3 year planning cycle, except we also want the leaks fixed fast. So I kind of stayed away from that.
I think that's the piece that's the conversation with National Grid.
yeah,
Right? And, maybe in terms of our tactics, we say, boy, we really would like to see Elsinore Street. If you're gonna dig up a whole neighborhood. Aw shucks, wouldn't it be great to be piloting network geothermal in Concord in that neighborhood that you're about to dig up?
Put some of those
And
pipes in there.
if there's, if we can't actually do it in that neighborhood, that will be a shame. What about the next one?
Yeah, keep
I
focusing on the
think
next
that
one,
that's-
yeah.
Very reasonable tactics, and again, I feel like that's a good faith conversation.
Yeah, I think the fact that they called us and we had a meeting means that we should pursue this GSEP thing more quietly and respectfully than we would have otherwise.
Let's put a pause on the
Yeah.
bridge article, but I think it's a good idea once we understand
It
what
just
it's
seems
asked
to me
for.
that this program is ripe for revision with that dollars amount. And it's on the ratepayers' shoulders for years.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
should try to change that program.
Well, and there's legislation, also one or two of the pieces of the bills that the Senate moved from TUE to Ways and Means addresses some of the stuff that's really needed in order for this program to work.
There was also incremental progress on GSEP, which was made in the last climate legislation last year. And this was one of the major sticking points that almost scotched that whole bill from being
Right,
passed. Was Mothers Out Front and others in the advocacy community, as well as our hometown senator, really being forceful about GSEP needing to be reformed and DPU needing to do more to
Right.
actually have a plan for stepping down the gas system so that at some point it can be retired in the
We
future.
have alternatives now, that maybe they didn't remain at the original legislation.
I could throw one other thing in just for a future discussion. And as an agenda item. The gas company currently has an obligation to serve, so that if there's one person in the middle of Elsinore Street says, I love my gas stove, you are not taking this pipe away.
I thought that was one of the bits that got changed, that it got changed
It
from
got-
serve to heat.
Yeah, they got the right to provide the heat if they feel like it, but they were not relieved of the obligation to continue to serve gas if there's a gas customer that wants gas. So that's still in one of the new bills. But it's also a political question, so if we decided we were gonna go to Elsinore Street or some other street as a committee and offer, a neighborhood electrification approach.
And somebody
And there's some guy who just loves gas, maybe they're worked on the gas system all their life and they just wanna,
Yeah.
we're gonna have to come up with a plan, like, we're gonna have a fund, buy the person out. Offer them some special,
Have propane or something on there?
that would be a possibility, convert them back to fuel oil. No, it's an issue that we're gonna have to think very carefully about, and that's why you do it on a neighborhood basis, so neighborhood people can talk about it.
Mhm.
And then this might have to be thought out, but it's also a reason why National Grid could come back to us and say, you guys are crazy, stuff isn't gonna work. In fact, one of their documents says a neighborhood of 5 people is sort of optimal to do one of these things now, because any bigger, you're gonna find somebody inevitably who won't participate.
Right.
All right, that's just an agenda item.
Ken, I noticed that you are not trying to put your hand up, but I want to solicit your input. Do you have anything to say in this space? If you're there?
Okay.
Sorry, Brad, I'm here. Hello.
Hi.
And
So
I
in
don't have
talking
anything to
about
add.
GSEP Elsinore Street, do you have anything that you want to contribute? Or
Not
not?
really. I sent around a draft of a letter that could go to Elsinore residents, but it didn't seem to get a lot of traction. So if that didn't seem to go anywhere, but I'm glad I'm glad that you're all discussing Elsinore Street as a model for what could happen by way of taking out gas pipelines and replacing them with electric use. So otherwise, I don't have much to add. Thank you, though.
Great, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing out on any organizing or anything like that. Great.
No problem.
Thank you. Anything else on this, or does Fred have good marching orders with him? Great, thank you.
Thanks.
This was so detailed and I learned so much just for reading your memo. It's excellent. Let's move on and try to do each of our other updates in 5 minutes or less so that we can get out at a reasonable hour, please. Do we have other things to say tonight about anything else on non-pipeline alternatives or GSAP? Great, that's 5 minutes right there. Network geothermal.
We didn't have any meetings. There was a proposal that we were included in as a leader from MAPC that was batted around, and it is for the work which was already planned to be 2 communities, and then they were adding 2 more, and the town decided not to, that there was too much going on to lead the proposal.
Right, and this was the prospective grant that we talked about last meeting for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Will we still be involved as a participant, but not a?
I hope so. I hope so. It was a little, it came late in the game. And it's about the kind of how do utilities work together, what the business model could be, where it could either be owned by CMLP or a third party, or how to do that. And that's the kind of planning that we would need to do in order to undertake a neighborhood to do a network geothermal system.
So we don't have to administer, but we're gonna still be a party to this discussion.
I hope so. Now, was Jason and Laura, were they wanting to take part in this, or at least in the planning effort?
Yeah, I can maybe give a little bit of a background, if that's okay, because I don't recall exactly how much of this was discussed at the last meeting. But there's a couple things at play. So over the summer, MAPC was awarded a regional energy planning assistant, REPA, that included several regional projects. One of those projects that MAPC got a grant for focused on exploring the network geothermal in light plant communities. So they identified Concord and Marblehead.
Right. And it was our suggestion that they put that in there.
Yeah. So and so CMLP provided a letter of support for that grant. And so that, that was awarded. And so then over the last few months, I believe that, there's been a number of exploratory conversations with MAPC staff, with light plant staff, with Brad, I think, and other committee members. I'm not exactly sure who, about how that work could move forward. And so, like, as we just discussed, those conversations include a discussion of a separate technical assistance opportunity for the town of Concord to be the lead recipient for another for additional funds to explore this, bringing in a few other light plant communities.
Yeah.
And so at that point, when that request for Concord to lead this effort came to me, that was the point where I felt like we needed to pause and be clear about our role with this effort. And so when the REPA grant was submitted and awarded to MAPC, Concord was not going to be leading it. It was an exploratory MAPC led effort. And we're interested in studying it and learning more about it. But as we've kind of moved from concept to discussing like the scope and what it actually means for Concord, we've had to apply some organizational discipline, and it's a tough conversation because it's not that it isn't the value of this effort, and there's been a lot of work put into it, but I think at this point we have a lot of funded, defined deliverables for this year that we're committed to, that we're trying to move forward. And so committing that, in light of updating our climate action plan and thinking about how that is gonna be prioritized with other efforts that we wanna do, I don't feel like we can lead this additional effort. So that's a little bit of the summary of the decision that was made to not move forward with this additional technical assistance. And so how MAPC will move forward on the REPA piece of it. I think it's different if we're supporting instead of kind of taking a real like ownership of it. And there are, I know that even if we were kind of the main recipients, MAPC's staff would be doing most of the work, like no doubt, and with volunteers. So even though the lift would be on the lighter end for staff, I really want to make sure, any efforts like this are prioritized and we can put our full weight behind it. And I don't feel like I can do that at this time. So I think how to, work on the REPA one has not been quite resolved. And I did hear back from MAPC that there's an opportunity to push that planning effort into the next fiscal year. And I wonder, if this is to come out as a main priority of the climate action plan, that might make sense. But maybe there is work that should be done by MAPC this year to tee us up for that. So I think that still is unresolved.
Go ahead.
I would support whatever work we could do to just keep getting the benefit of the work that other people are doing on it.
Yeah.
So that we should stay in touch with it and get the memos and learn what they're learning so that we can use it. And perhaps just exactly as Megan said, and once we've got to decide where we put it in the climate action plan, next year we'd be ready to get more involved.
Next item on the agenda are updates on the schools. The only thing I have to say about the schools is part of where bringing back the municipal solar policy is coming from is concerned resident responses to the solar panels on the roof of the middle school not happening. So one thing which Megan, you said we might talk about tonight was were there any conversations with Russ or other town staff regarding a municipal solar policy that we want to get into right now, or would we want to kick that to when we actually have that on the agenda with more time?
Yeah, I think I did receive a draft. I don't know what level it is at right now, but I am discussing it with our facilities team and CMLP, and I think that there are a lot of people are looking at it and thinking about it. We did schedule a meeting for early January, internal staff meeting to discuss it in preparation for, I asked Brad to have this as a January item so that when the Climate Action Committee reviews this document or a version of it, you'll have a full picture of some different staff feedback and, what the implications would be in kind of a cohesive way. So I don't have feedback to share right now. You don't have the document in front of you anyway, but I am committed to, bringing forward any feedback on a proposal for discussion at the next meeting.
So what you're talking about is a meeting relating to the policy in general or relating to the middle school?
Oh,
Right.
so I'm talking about, I'm having what do we think as staff about this proposed policy? That was a solar task version of a recommendation from the solar task force that I believe the Climate Action Committee reviewed last year, 24.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's evolved a little bit. And yeah, I think in light of that project,
Right.
is this achieving our goals? Are there any unintended consequences, or is this, we're comfortable with it, or whatever feedback we have, and, then you all can take that in consideration and, do what you will.
So
Well, Dean, just a comment, Dean came to the select board and said, what happened with policy? So I talked to Megan and I talked to Dean and I talked to Charlie, and You know, because it's the same policy that was reviewed last September. There's some language in there that I was concerned about. And so they're potentially looking at it. Some of it's around requiring a certain orientation of building. And the other was a question around size. Those are two parameters that I think we want a little more town feedback on, and I think Dean and Charlie are ready to come back and talk a little bit more about it. I think they're open to that, but part of this is a request by Dean to have the select board move it forward, so I wanna move it forward. I do not think it needs to go to town meeting. It's a town policy, that's what the solar task force asked for, so I wanted to follow up on that particular request.
So would you be looking for a recommendation from this body to?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it needs, and then it would go to the select.
Vetted
board.
here.
Right. But I also wanna make sure that everyone's found, from a town staff
Yeah.
perspective, they've all vetted it, and I.
We're trying to do that before that.
Right, so I think it's just,
Yeah.
sort of making sure it's fully informed, and then come back here.
So I would suggest to everybody, especially if you were not on this committee when that conversation happened. Charlie Parker came to our meeting, Russ Carlstad came to our meeting. There were some issues raised, a very substantive conversation about it at that time.
Policy or?
It wasn't.
About a proposed policy.
Okay.
And if you weren't here for that conversation, or if maybe just
I wasn't there. Yeah.
a year has gone by and you want to refresh, something good to do would be to go seek that meeting video out before the policy lands in your lap in a meeting packet, because you might not have enough time to do that homework then. So if you've got some time and you want to watch an old climate action committee meeting, I would strongly recommend finding that. We can.
September?
It should have been September, but we can also.
Yeah, 2024.
2020.
Oh,
Yeah.
Before me too.
Yeah, so I think that it's worth going back to that moment in time and seeing that excerpt from our meeting before we have this conversation in January, just to ground the history of that and what we've already discussed.
So in January, we'll put it on the agenda and we'll have the input from the town staff.
I hope we will,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah.
we will have seen whatever the latest is from Charlie and.
I hope they will send it to us, yes. That is what I requested that they do.
I'm interested to tee up a discussion under the context of the 5-year update about solar and our 100% green electricity. And whether we don't care about saving electricity because it's all green. Or, maybe we don't even care about solar because we've already taken care of electricity. I mean, we need to think of, I can think of some other reasons why we might still care about saving electricity because it saves money, or doing solar because it's various kinds of reasons to do that
Resilient.
for our, but we just need to come up with, what are we saying about it? Because the world is new now that it's all carbon free.
Mhm.
We need to discuss whether we
Yeah,
think that's credible also, perhaps offline.
it's all carbon free, except whenever you use electricity, some generator fires up to provide it.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I'm sort of looking at Bob, hoping he might have some ideas about this, but that's another discussion we need to schedule some other time than now.
Yeah, it's a much lengthier discussion than I want to have at 8:59.
It's anyways,
I think that's part of the conversation
Right.
maybe we'll have on the fifth too.
Maybe
There's
so.
ideas.
Yeah, presume, yeah.
I want to call everybody's attention to the maps of that MassDOT have provided on possible rotary fixes.
That was in the paper too.
Yes. So MassDOT had a legislative briefing for a wide variety of transportation and interested legislators and people on the Route 2 corridor going all the way out into Worcester County. So these maps are coming in the context of a much larger plan for Route 2 between 128 and approximately, I'd say, Westminster. There are about 25 different sites that MassDOT are working on, and the rotary is falling into that context. Now, we looked at an older version of schematic plans of things that MassDOT could do at the Rotary. And one of the points of concern which we raised and sent a letter about that, I believe this is going all the way back to possibly to 2023, maybe. Now we have a higher level of specificity and more context for what MassDOT are looking to do. If you were here for the old conversation that we had a year or two ago about this, part of the context was that there is a desire that Mass Highway has to widen Route 2, particularly in Acton and Concord, from a 2-lane highway to a 3-lane highway. And rotary enhancements would fall into that context. If we look at the maps that they provided to our legislative delegation and to other Route 2 legislators, one of the things that I see at the Rotary is that they're using a lot less of the MCI Concord land in these maps. They're trying to bring Barrett's Mill Farm more over into the farm, so-called farm, and less into the MCI Concord redevelopment zone. Some of these maps go over the cemetery or are very close to it, which is concerning. But there's a lot less land use in the area that we are hoping is going to be redeveloped. So that's, I feel, positive. But we've got a lot more context now about what they're looking to do. And it seems a lot realer now to me that they're actually going to move forward on rotary solutions. So I wanted to ensure that you all were brought up to speed on where they are right now, because this was something that CAC was involved in previously. I don't think that the time is right for any kind of feedback to MassDOT. But if we want to be talking to our area legislators about this, to refresh for them from our perspective on needing vehicle miles traveled in town to be reduced in order to meet our emissions reduction goals, and in order to ensure that the MCI Concord land is not unduly impinged upon by rotary construction, that may be something that we want to do in the near future.
I would think we should do it through TAC.
I mean, I can certainly reach out and say, hey, did you guys notice this stuff? I'm sure they have.
Right, that would be the right way to do it, I think.
Right.
Because I think they have, reducing vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gases in mind as when they think about this stuff.
Who's the consultant doing the redevelopment plan? Isn't there a consultant that was hired to do the plan for the whole property?
You're talking specifically MCI,
Yes.
MCI redevelopment.
Town is working with Stantec
Okay.
on,
They're the ones who.
Transportation.
well, on both the transportation plan and kind of, looking at this.
The site use,
Looking at representing Concord in discussions about access and that kind of thing.
mainly the transportation issues, Stantec, or I'm talking
Yes.
the whole, I know the wastewater plant
So
discussed.
the MCI, they're only working on how to zone it. They're not working on the
Who
plan.
Stantec is, or,
No, the Concord plan, and Stantec's not involved in
Okay.
MCI.
So, Concord hired a firm called Agency to do a visioning plan that has been completed. But we
That
are
has been
working
completed.
on,
It's been
yes,
completed.
yeah, it was completed over the summer. And that was kind of looking at the site, but pretty high level scenarios. And that, the input that was collected is gonna go to this next phase, which is gonna be developing a master plan for the site.
okay,
And a consultant has not yet been chosen
Okay.
for that work. Scope is in development right now.
thank you.
Brad, do you want to tell us about Cooler Concord and social media?
Yeah. Been a bit of work on it, so we've been doing, there's social media is happening through Facebook and Instagram on Cooler Concord accounts and also Mothers Out Front's accounts, and these are a couple of posts a week that come from Mass Energize, and they use this plannable.io platform. I was gonna take time to show a little bit, but I think we're getting late. So they're producing posts on a number of topics ranging from heat pumps and solar and EVs and other things about, don't use too much gift wrap and, sustainability related stuff. And they even are customizing them for individual communities, because in Concord, the incentive, the programs are different than in IOU towns. So, I've been meeting on occasion with Betsy Olson Mikowski and Shelley from the committee to look at the posts that are coming and decide, are these good? What do we want to change? And they're pretty good. If we can, I'll just write up an update. You can actually see that the number of people subscribing to those, like following those channels has gone up by 10% or so over a couple of months' time, which is nice. We haven't been sharing them to larger groups, Concord Group, Town of Concord, etc. And I was gonna see about whether we should do that. I was gonna ask committee whether we might do that. Let's see, so that's one thing. The Cooler Concord website, coolerconcord.org, is now the new WordPress site as of yesterday. Replaced the old one that we had, and it's quite similar. It's a little more streamlined in the sense that you don't have to create a profile. You can subscribe to updates. And it goes along. We also have a MailChimp account. We have about 730 subscribers that we've had for years, and we used to send out a newsletter from CSEC. And that list could be used for sending out event notifications or a newsletter. And I propose that we write one up for January just to announce the new site and plans for the committee of the year or something like that. I'll send it. I'd like to start doing that. And what else? So that with the MailChimp, anybody can unsubscribe at any time. And some people may have seen a message in the last day from that. Anybody see one? Okay. But from the transition, I expected a message to go out.
I think I got one.
You got
Hmm. Yeah,
Where would we send it? An email or?
it. It would have come as an email, because we added the preferences to the list to allow people to be able to unsubscribe from either newsletter or other announcements. And that triggered an email that went out to many people. And so Brad Dye and I both attended a training about how to update the Cooler Concord website, mainly for posting events. So we can, it takes a couple of minutes to post an event, which is just creating the time, having a graphic, a description that is written up, and the time and place. So we just gotta start using it. And hopefully use it to bring people into climate, helping with the climate action plan, attending whatever green home tours and other events that we take part in.
Excellent. Well, thank you for all of the great work there. And like I said at the chair's breakfast this morning, because we're on a new site now, you might worry to yourself, hey, is my old bookmark going to work? And in fact, if you have Cooler Concord bookmarked on your computer now, we're gonna redirect you to the new site just fine. And if you don't have it bookmarked right now, you really should bookmark Cooler Concord so that you can make a habit of getting over there and seeing the resources that we've got there and helping us figure out how to raise our profile. Great, thank you. Well, we lost Ken, who just dropped off, so we have no members of the public here to make comments anymore. Do we have a motion to adjourn to meet next January 5th at noon for our brainstorming session here? Please.
So moved.
Second, Brad seconds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.